Hey, it's Yuka. If you're using Gemini just as a chatbot, simply typing in questions and getting the answers, you could be leaving hours on the table every single day. For example, you could be opening Gemini and asking, how do I organize my emails? Getting a generic response, then going back to manually sorting through your inbox. That's not really AI assistance, that's just a glorified Google search. Here's what I figured out after actually integrating Gemini into Google Workspace. It's much more than just a chatbot. It's a workflow multiplier that can cut your admin time by like 70%. And the secret is all about the sidebar. So if you've been treating it like a fancy Q&A tool, today I'm going to show you how to actually use it, the specific sidebar workflows, exact prompts, and integrations that turned my chaotic Google Workspace into this weirdly efficient productivity machine. The difference between chatbot thinking and workflow thinking is context. And that context lives in your Google Workspace. So if you're using it to craft emails, many people will use Gemini to draft their responses. They might hit the help me write button and ask for a professional email declining this meeting. This is convenient, but there's so much more you could be doing in Gmail with Gemini. So let's say I'm looking at this really long thread of emails. It is currently 24 emails in. What I could do is hit reply and click help me write to, ask Gemini to craft an email for me. Another thing you could be doing is go up here and click on this Gemini button to show the Gemini sidebar. So in this sidebar, you could be doing so much more. So for example, in this email thread, I have a ton of information that we talked about back and forth about deadlines and different deliverables and stuff like that. So instead of me going back and reading all the replies that I've gotten, I can ask Gemini here about this email. So let's start with asking about the deadline. So I'm asking, what are the deadlines that were agreed in this thread? And there you go. It gave me the exact dates and about the articles I'm going to write in the coming few months. And this is awesome because I didn't have to dig through all the emails. Another thing that we discussed in this thread is I am getting a package from this company and they gave me a tracking number. This happens to me all the time because I get all these tech things sent to me and I have to keep track of when things are arriving. But usually I would just search my email for tracking numbers, but it takes a lot of time if I have to dig through emails. So in here I can ask, what is the tracking number for this shipment? And Gemini knows what shipment I'm talking about because it knows the context of what I'm asking about, which is this thread. And it gave me the tracking number. So I think you get the difference. The sidebar knows what I'm looking at and it has context. So in 3 seconds, I was able to figure out my deadlines and my tracking number, which would have taken me a couple minutes to dig through if it were a couple months ago before I started using Gemini in Gmail. So if you have a ton of ongoing long threads, this is very handy to extract what you need to know very quickly. Even in personal situations like figuring out when your check-in time was for your hotel, etc., we waste a lot of time searching and digging through email, but this is definitely an area that AI can really shine. Google Sheets also has a Gemini sidebar. Here I imported some analytics data from my YouTube channel into this Google Sheet, and I'm going to ask Gemini to help me analyze and give me some insights about all of these data. So same thing, I'm going to up here and click on the Ask Gemini to bring up this sidebar. This has some example prompts that I could do, like generate a chart, analyze for insights, etc. I'm going to ask it for an analysis. So I'm saying, give me 3 takeaways from this data about my YouTube channel. Whoa, so it gave me a ton of different things. It's still going actually. So let's look at what they gave me. Okay, so it looked at watch time, hours versus subscribers, views versus subscribers, click-through rates versus views, impressions versus views, and gave me a lot of different charts. And it gave me 3 takeaways from your YouTube channel data. So one is higher views correlate with increased watch time and revenue. which makes sense. Effective titles and thumbnails drive views. A higher click-through rate on impressions often leads to a greater number of views. Yes, that makes sense. Engaging content contributes to subscriber growth. Videos with higher views and longer watch times are associated with a greater number of new subscribers. So I think those 3 takeaways make sense. You can ask specific questions about different metrics if you want to. You can also take the graphs and charts that it created and save the image and bring it into other places like slides or docs if you're going to be presenting to someone else about this. So instead of spending hours on spreadsheets, I get actionable insights in seconds. Next up, we have Google Docs with Gemini. So the chatbot approach would be asking for something like, write me a blog post about blah, blah, blah. And you're going to get generic output with zero context. You would be getting the same answers as anyone who would write that prompt. So basically it's useless unless you put in a lot of effort to edit and match your needs and style. In real life, I'm probably working on an actual project with actual constraints and actual information. Here I have a new document. Okay, I'm gonna say, give me ideas for tech YouTube videos. So this gave me an extremely generic idea because it didn't have any other context that I gave it. And this is really not interesting. So I'm gonna discard and again go to the sidebar and ask, give me ideas on YouTube videos based on data from, and I can mention that spreadsheet that we were working on, JP YouTube data 2025. So now Gemini has more context on what I'm actually trying to do, basically context about my channel. So this is much more powerful and much more interesting and accurate because it has all my data. And even if we type in the exact same prompt, we will be getting vastly different results because the data we provided is very different. So this is a lot of information. So I'm gonna ask, create a executive summary. Okay, so I created an executive summary for this document. And now this could be something that I could present to someone else. I can edit and add more ideas, but this is a great starting point for if I worked at my company. So basically what you need to remember from here is that you can add to bring up, including presentations, documents, spreadsheets, lots of different types of information that can be mentioned here and taken into account when you're asking Gemini to do something. So it's pulling data from sources I actually use and cross-referencing information and creating something that would take me hours to compile manually and lots of tab switching, which I did not have to do. But look, Gemini isn't perfect. Sometimes it hallucinates data, so always verify your numbers and dates. Because at the end of the day, Gemini can help you do a lot of things, but you're the one who is going to be responsible for the output it gives you. So make sure you check its work and don't use it blindly. That being said, when you use it for what it's actually good at, like synthesizing information, generating drafts, automating repetitive tasks, it's honestly like having a really smart assistant who knows all the context in your Google Workspace. So if you want to try this yourself, first you need to find a sidebar. In Gmail, Docs, Sheets, or Slides, look for that sparkle icon on the top right side. Second, you can just start small. If you use Gmail a lot, pick Gmail and use Sidebar just for summarizing threads for a week. Get used to working with context instead of starting fresh every time. Third, learn the syntax in Docs. This is a game changer for pulling actual data instead of generating random content. And remember, the goal isn't to replace your thinking, it's to eliminate the busy work so the sidebar can handle context switching while you focus on the stuff that actually matters. So that was my take on actually using Gemini productively in Google Workspace. The key is being specific with your prompts and thinking of it as a workflow enhancer, not a magic solution. If you're into tech videos like this, hit subscribe for more videos about making technology actually work for you. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.